Sacred Ground by Annabella Lwin, a special song recorded in 2005 with the proceeds donated to the Tsunami Relief Fund helping people in Southeast Asia whose land and homes were devastated. Annabella is my guest on Revenge of the 80s Radio. Annabella, since our first conversation 2 years ago, aside from concerts and new music, you've been very involved in several humanitarian efforts, and most notably raising awareness and even trying to help people donate to your native Yangon, Myanmar, who were affected by the devastation brought on by Cyclone Nargis just 2 years ago. Apparently they're in a rebuilding stage. People still need money. The non-governmental organizations and other relief groups, they need a lot of help over there, and I'm very happy that you're here and a lot of others are still around trying to raise awareness for them.
Thank you, yes. I hope that we haven't forgotten about that country needing help still, as of course with all the recent tragedies that we've seen, of course, on the news with Haiti and Chile and Rio de Janeiro, and it's just unbelievable what's actually going on in the world, and of course recently in Iceland with the volcanic eruption.
It's hard to remember sometimes for a lot of people because it's the disaster of the time. It's we're donating to the most recent one here. When people don't realize, Annabella, that Burma is in the middle of a 3-year plan to rebuild from that devastation. It's one of the worst cyclones, one of the worst natural disasters in world history, at least recorded world history. There is I believe one of the Delta areas is even suffering from drought problems and a very, very bad shortage of water.
Well, that's not something I've heard of from my family members, but I am concerned about that. If that is the case, we need to look into that further and try and bring more awareness to that problem. But I am aware that it's an ongoing, as you said, it is an ongoing. It's going to be a lot longer than 3 years, I'm sure, especially because of the situation there with the government of the country, you know.
But there are several relief efforts going on, and a lot of them are posted on your MySpace site as well. That's myspace.com/official Annabella Lwin. Before the interview, you and I discussed some of the organizations that are working hard. Talk about some of the ones that you know have been really in the forefront of aid for the people in Yangon and in the rest of Myanmar.
Well, Music Cares apparently were involved, but they're, of course, American Red Cross. You've got the World Project Foundation. You've got the Burma People Foundation, the people of Burma, who actually were the ones that we were going to be working with in that first year when this initially happened in May 2008. So the point being, a lot of foundations that were, involved then are still continuing the hard work now. And I actually had, a connection from someone from the World Project Foundation recently asking me to help to donate something of my personal thing to his cause, for his foundation, to do with a completely different cause involving involving suicide. So the point I'm trying to make is, wherever you look these days, and we can actually see quite clearly what's happening, the world is changing at a very, very fast pace, and there is so many people in need and charities that need help. That what is there better that we can do as people in this line of work that we are in? Although I don't consider being in music work, but I still love it so much. But doing what we do to help in any way we can, and not just because we're in this business, but doing what we can do anywhere we live, or whoever we are, whatever we do in our lives this time around. Just to help in small ways. Anything that we're asked to do, or whether it's looking out for a neighbour's house if they're away on holiday, or looking after someone's pets, or helping someone stay somewhere for a couple of weeks they don't have anywhere to live. The fact is, unfortunately, when there's devastation like there has been, especially as you can see in Haiti, the looting that goes on by the people of their own country whilst their own country is suffering from the devastation. It's beyond me, But then after hearing and seeing a lot of, interactions, because being on the internet, you get a chance to, especially Facebook, which I only just joined recently in November 2009. It's interesting to see how people talk about, well, what you have to do if it's an emergency. You have to lock your doors, you have to get guns, you have to do this, you have to do that. and get water and stuff, and then you kind of go, oh my God. So really, basically what happens is you think people are going to go around and kill everybody to get what they want, because it's out of desperation. It's obviously quite serious that people are in that predicament. So yes, I think that, when you say, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just a singer, a songwriter who's trying to do my bit in my own way. But the fact is, there are millions of people already doing that, and have been for years. Someone like Paul McCartney, for example, and Linda McCartney, as we know, bless her soul, that died, a few years back, and she was doing nothing but promoting vegetarianism all her life. So it's very true. It's very true that, I guess it's, dependent upon the individual. But what is the point of going out there every day in the world thinking of doing evil and harm to people? I don't understand that way of living. And the people that you see on the streets, it's crazy that they're even in that predicament, because they came from some home, they came from some family, they have mothers, they have fathers, they must have siblings, and you kind of wonder why and how did that happen to that person. So these are things that need to be addressed on a bigger level, bigger scale, which if I'm hoping I can help with that at some point, because I have my own dream about that, and I hope it's not just a dream, but it's really important just to do as much as we can on a day-to-day basis, no matter how small, how little, and whoever we are, whatever we do.
Annabella, it's hard to even ask you what your favorite charities are, because you've been involved with so many. Let's start with some of the things you're doing in the near future. On May 1st and May 2nd, that's this coming weekend, you will be part of the Taste of Ladera. That's with an appearance on Saturday with Dave Wakeling, who's also a big charitable guy. He's donated several concert dates to various causes. And Sunday, you're doing a solo performance as well, so you'll be there all weekend. This is going to several charities in the region.
That's right. There's so far we've got, it's obviously the main Ladera Ranch Education Foundation. But there's also the Alzheimer's Association. They've got the Ladera Grays Baseball, Mountain View Church, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund, Mamapalooza, Mums Club of Ladera Ranch, Mountain View Church, as I said before, and the Ocean Institute. So there are several charities that we are all there on the day for, not just the artists performing, but the people attending. So everybody's presence is very important, and it's really great. It's a really, I don't know how other people feel, but I just know it's such a beautiful thing when you go somewhere and you do something, and it just feels right, if you know what I mean. It feels like you're having a good cup of coffee or a good cup of tea. It just feels right when it tastes good, and when it sounds good, everyone's happy. It just feels, it's so uplifting to your spirit and the soul. It's good elixir for the soul, basically. So yes, it's going to be a wonderful day.
I know what you mean about that tea. I just had some delicious Earl Grey before the interview.
Oh, good. It's an English tea, isn't it? That's Earl Grey.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's because Earl, or else it would be, I guess if it was Duke Grey, it would be English too, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Or
I think
Count
Duke,
Grey.
I think Duke would be better, actually.
It could be Duke of Earl Grey. There we go.
The Duke of Earl Grey, yeah. Yeah.
Annabella,
now you know where the Darts got that song from, Duke of Earl. There's a song, Duke,
yep.
Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl. That was, I wouldn't be surprised if that came from that discussion about tea. Anyway, continue.
I can understand that. I think that makes a lot of sense. You make a lot of sense, Annabella, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris Cordani here. Annabella Lwin is my guest on Revenge of the 80s Radio. I'm Chris Cordani. Earlier in this conversation, we mentioned your involvement with Music Cares. You're doing a big concert this May 7th at the Club Nokia that's going to be honoring the Betty Ford Clinic. Now, this is a Music Cares concert to celebrate the MAP Fund, and it will be about helping people in the music industry recover from addiction.
That's correct. It's actually Women in Recovery that we're supporting on that particular event, which is celebrating the women in recovery at the Club Nokia, which is obviously in, West Olympic Boulevard, Los Angeles. But there's some amazing people on the bill. We've got people like Linda Perry and Kelly Scott and Beth Hart and Flash and Exene and Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's and Leah Randy and Patti Clamel plays with Pink, and it's all fantastic support for one one hell of a show, I think, with Lemmy as well, apparently. From Motorhead, yeah, possibly John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers, and Flea will be coming along too. But basically, it's the cause. Again, it's celebrating the clinic. I mean, Betty Ford and the Betty Ford Clinic, they've all been involved in helping to raise money for years. So it's like, this is nothing new. This has been going on. It's just keeping it, in the public awareness and bringing it to the public awareness, because I don't know why people haven't been doing this sooner in a lot of respects, because if you go out for the evening and you spend, God knows, in this day and age, you spend anywhere from, $30 to $100 or more, in fact, if you go to eat somewhere. So it's amazing. Why not spend that knowing that you're helping a cause or helping causes to help other people? It's a no-gone conclusion. Is that the right expression?
I believe it's a no-brainer. There we go. Or
it's a no-brainer. That's it.
Yeah, or a foregone conclusion. One of those two.
It's a foregone conclusion, but it's a no-brainer. That's correct. Thank you very much, Chris.
All of the above. Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
I know. Sorry, I've got jet lag. It's jet lag, people. It's jet lag. I flew in from England on Friday. I went straight into rehearsal Saturday and sang for 6 hours, and I'm like, oh my God. Am I here? It was surreal. I was at Malcolm's funeral yesterday. It was the most bizarre 2 days I had.
One thing about addiction is that the tabloid media seems to like to feast in such problems in the music industry and other creative businesses, but it's a very serious problem, and it's great to see that you and other musicians are looking out for each other.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they're saying, which I haven't advertised officially yet, because I'm trying to focus on the Ladera, because Ladera is the first one I'm doing, May the 2nd. And I don't know if you have the address for that, but that's going to be at Founders Park, Daisy in Avondale, 28243 Sellers Road North, Ladera Ranch is the actual address for the all ages event. And that needs, as I say, we're doing there's a lot of charities involved with that. With the map thing, I think it's pretty much covered. It's been running very smoothly, but they're saying in their press release that women in general are less likely to get the drug addiction treatment they need. Only 8% of the women who have a problem with addiction seek help. And the number of women abusing alcohol, as indicated by related traffic arrests, have risen 28% over the past decade. So MusiCares is focusing attention on that particular evening. It's all in aid of that, and saluting the Betty Ford Centre. So it's amazing, that something like this has only just been addressed, and we're in 2010.
Yes, we're in 2010, and these stories have been running around for decades upon decades, and we're not even talking about just the rock era, we're talking about before that.
Exactly.
MusiCares is a multifaceted charity and group that helps a lot of musicians out, and if you'd like to read a little more about that, Google MusiCares and find out the many things they do. Annabella and the list of guests that we talked about right now are huge parts of this whole entire organization.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to working in the group that I'm privileged enough to take part in, which is, my first ever all-girl band. So it's going to be quite an experience.
Well, you did.
That's the only reason why I was, I'm joking. It's part of the reason, but not really. But I was asked to do this by Kathy Valentine from the Go-Go's, and because we crossed paths before, and it's very rare that you get a chance to speak to other artists when you're actually on the road, at a show, blah blah blah. Because so many other people are trying to get to them to speak to them, and mainly, do this, that, and the other. But it's lovely when you actually get a chance to sit down and have a chat with your fellow, artist and your fellow, musician, and it's that you have crossed paths with it many years before or whatever. So yeah, it was nice to be asked. I feel very honoured to be a part of this, very honoured, and I'm sure, all the people who have been doing this for years are probably going to be wondering what the hell I'm doing there, because I've never been, involved in any of that, and obviously some of the people who are actually doing something have, apparently, but I'm not privy to that. I don't know who it will be.